Coming up on Cannabis Coast to Coast News this week, reaction from NORML's political director Morgan Fox in Washington, D.C. on the results of the presidential election. Will total Republican control of the government be the key to getting reform right at the federal level?
But I don't think that GOP control of all three chambers is necessarily a good thing for comprehensive descheduling legislation. I think that there's just too many GOP lawmakers who just quite aren't there yet.
Legalization loses on 3 state ballot questions, including Florida, South and North Dakota, while Nebraska approves a medical program bringing decriminalized states in the U.S. up to a total of 39. Kentucky issues its first licenses for its medical program and gets welcome approval from over 100 cities and counties. And in Massachusetts, after 11 months, the Bay State finally names an executive director to the Cannabis Control Commission. He's David Lakeman, and he returns from a few years in Illinois and at their Cannabis Commission. Plus, in Texas, Dallas joins another 5 cities or towns in the Lone Star State to decriminalize possession of cannabis. And since 2017, the premier growing and manufacturing competition in New England is the annual Harvest Cup in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Boston-based corporation with Cannabis.
Plus, a Gallup poll concludes that more Americans are using cannabis now than ever before since legal states and medical programs continue to expand. All that and coast-to-coast election reaction on Cannabis Coast to Coast News with Alaina Pinto. Next.
We are Pro Cannabis Media.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Cannabis Coast to Coast News, Pro Cannabis Media's weekly production of news from the cannabis industry. I'm Alaina Pinto. Remember, once again, the easiest way to continue to watch our weekly roundup of the news is just to download our free app, PCMTV. You can get it at the App Store and Google Play. Our top story this week is the results of the 2024 election and its impact on the cannabis industry. And unless you've been stoned out of your mind over the past week, you know that former President Donald Trump defeated Vice President Kamala Harris pretty decisively as Trump won both the popular and the electoral vote. Needless to say, it's been a tough week for the industry since Harris ran on legalization of cannabis while President-elect Trump jumped on the weed bandwagon late. Trump said he would vote yes on 3 in his home state of Florida, thus going against that state's governor, Ron DeSantis, a Republican who was fighting for the ballot question to fail. Trump did say he would support decriminalization and rescheduling to the CSA's Schedule 3. He also stated that no one should be going to jail for using the product and that his home state of Florida is trying to do it the right way. However, the industry is asking, is this the end of the legalization fight, or just another delay in the inevitable move to reflect the 70% of Americans who support legalization of the plant? Well, the red wave that swept the country also won the Senate, but control of the House is still up for grabs at the time of our recording on Monday, November 11th. Our man in Washington, D.C. is Andrew Behringer, who tries to put this political defeat in perspective while hoping that President-elect Trump will make good on his campaign promises.
I'm Andrew Behringer with the Washington, D.C. report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. The election is finally over, everyone. Thank God. Former President Donald Trump has unveiled new ideas about cannabis policy following his recent election victory, marking the first time that both major party presidential candidates have supported some form of cannabis legalization in U.S. history. That's a pretty big deal. Now, the president-elect's new approach centers on a 3-pronged strategy. Now, continuing with the Biden administration's efforts to reschedule cannabis, as we know, to a Schedule 3, supporting banking reform for the industry, and maintaining states' rights in cannabis policy decisions is very important. This represents a dramatic evolution from his first term, during which his administration, if you remember, under Attorney General Jeff Sessions, had created industry uncertainty by rescinding Obama-era cannabis enforcement guidance and laws. Quote, medical cannabis has been absolutely amazing for patients, Trump stated during his campaign recently, while arguing against criminalizing personal possession. Someone, quote, someone should not be a criminal in Florida when this is legal in so many other states, end quote. He added, showcasing his support for state-level decision-making recently in the Florida cannabis election on the ballot. The Republican approach focuses on establishing a clean cannabis reform framework, emphasizing free market principles and, of course, reduced federal oversight. Now, if we look at it, key elements include removing cannabis from the Controlled Substances Act, very important, creating an alcohol-style federal framework, and enabling interstate commerce. However, implementation faces several hurdles. If you remember, the DEA hearing delays could push changes into 2025 or beyond, and the complex process of banking integration remains a big challenge, as we know. The industry will need to adapt to a more market-driven approach. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this topic? Please make sure to post your comments below, and please be civil. Thank you very much. Well, that's me. I'm Andrew Behringer, reporting from Washington, D.C. for Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
Now, with 2 out of 3 branches already Republican, PCM founder Jimmy Young and Morgan Fox, the political director for NORML, talked about what's next.
Welcome back to Cannabis Coast to Coast News for a post-election special. I am PCM founder Jimmy Young, and I'm so happy to be joined by Morgan Fox, the political director of NORML, the National Organization for Reform of Marijuana Laws. So, Morgan, has NORML's cause changed? It certainly has been impacted by the results of the election, hasn't it?
Well, I think that our mission remains the same, is to protect cannabis consumers and change laws, and we've always been the underdogs. While I think that there's some legitimate concern that cannabis policy reform could slow down in the 119th Congress, particularly with Mike Johnson at the helm of the House. We're still going to continue doing exactly what we have been doing. And, we do have a president-elect who has voiced some support for us. What I'm more concerned about is the appointees. And, as we've seen in the last Trump administration, those weren't particularly great for us. That being said, we are kind of riding on a wave of popular support and, growing support among the elected class and the public officials that we're going to have to deal with. So, I think it's really just going to be incumbent on advocates across the board to make sure that lawmakers and policymakers at every level of government recognize that not only are these policy reforms the right thing to do, but are also personally beneficial to them. Prioritization is really the key. And, we've seen that even when Democrats were in charge, we did not get the prioritization that we wanted to. We saw a lot more movement than we have in the past over the last couple of years, but this certainly was not a priority issue. And so, now it's incumbent upon us, if we want to continue to see forward progress, to not only make sure that lawmakers see that this is a priority issue, but I think that we also have to focus on our strengths. If we're looking at the ballot initiatives, we saw that the Dakotas lost, Florida narrowly lost, even though more than 1.2 million people voted for it than didn't vote for it. But we also saw victories at the local level for decriminalization and depenalization in a number of cities in Texas, including Dallas, which has a population of 1.3 million, which is like more than both the Dakotas combined. We also saw a clean sweep in Kentucky localities approving medical cannabis businesses being allowed to operate there. So, I think that, while we have been really capitalizing on the increase in public support for this issue over the last decade, we might need to rethink our strategy now that we've kind of run up against the red wall and we're running out of ballot initiative states, where we really need to focus a little bit more granularly on local initiatives, as well as on making sure that lawmakers at the local, state, and federal level recognize that this is the will of the people, regardless of the outcomes of any particular state initiatives, and that there are consequences for being an obstructionist.
You can see the entire interview with Morgan Fox and Jimmy on our website, procannabismedia.com. And you'll find it on our app as well under special reports. Now let's get back to Florida. Even with Trump declaring he would vote yes on the Question 3 initiative, that state's Republican governor, Ron DeSantis, accomplished what he had set out to do: defeat the state constitutional change. The largest medical operator in Florida is Trulieve, and that group spent over $100 million in support of Smart and Safe Yes on 3 campaign. That group released this statement after the defeat at the ballot box. Tonight, a strong majority of Floridians voted in support of legalizing recreational marijuana for adults. While the results of Amendment 3 did not clear the 60% threshold, we are eager to work with the governor and legislative leaders who agree with us on decriminalizing recreational marijuana for adults, addressing public consumption, continuing to focus on child safety, and expanding access to safe marijuana through home grow. One Florida resident who is very disappointed with the final result is Jeff Aker, our correspondent there, who is licking his wounds and pointing the finger at their governor, Ron DeSantis, who, as Jeff says, his days in office are numbered.
I'm Jeff Aker, Master Gardener from Florida for Coast to Coast Cannabis News. As you know, we lost. It was pretty close, though. We had 55.9% of the population say yes. What's sad is, what I can't help thinking about is, on the no side, Ron DeSantis used our taxpayer money to fight it. That shouldn't be right. But anyways, it was almost $1 million on both sides of the thing. So we're talking $2 million that are up in smoke. But I hope we're looking at 2 more years, maybe 2 years. It seems like the second time something goes through, it'll go through. When we got our medical program, the first time we voted on it, it didn't pass. The second time we voted on it, it passed. And in 2 years, DeSantis will be gone. So we'll have to vote good for a governor that's a little bit more lenient. With Donald Trump winning the presidency, when he said he was going to support Florida and to be good for Florida, I'm really curious to see what he does in the government to further cannabis legalization. I think he's going to do something that's yet to see. So make sure you stay tuned to Cannabis News. We'll have the updates for you. I'm Jeff Aker, Master Gardener from Florida for Coast to Coast Cannabis News.
In fact, that Florida defeat was just one of 3 state ballot questions related to cannabis that failed at the ballot box. South and North Dakota voters both rejected adult use legalization as well. Nebraska, on the other hand, passed a medical marijuana bill, thus decriminalizing the plant medicine in that state. And for those scoring at home, that's now 39 states in the U.S. that have legal medical programs, and that adult use number continues to be stalled at 24. Now you have to wonder if and when there will be a 25th state. One state that never seems to do anything easy is Texas. In fact, some cannabis ballot questions did pass in some cities, including Dallas, and Lisa Williams has the details in her Texas Cannabis Report.
I'm Lisa Williams, founder of the Toke Agency, bringing you the Texas Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. All right, we got an election roundup going on, and we have some new wins for cannabis decriminalization. But don't get too excited about setting up shop just yet. On Tuesday night, voters in 3 cities, Dallas, Bastrop and Lockhart said yes to decriminalizing low levels of marijuana possession. And these were decisive wins with over 60% of the voters backing the measures. Let's start with the big one. Dallas, also called the Dallas Freedom Act, passed with a 66% support. It's now officially against city rules for police to arrest or ticket anyone carrying 4 ounces or less of cannabis, as long as it's not tied to a felony investigation. And get this, the smell of weed, it can no longer be used as an excuse for search or seizure. Looks like Dallas is joining the movement to clear up some of that gray area. Let's move over to Bastrop. Sailed through with a whopping 69%. Similar story. Police are no longer arresting or citing people for basic possession. Lockhart's law even stops officers from testing whether a substance is hemp or marijuana. Here's the kicker. While decriminalization is taking off, these wins do not open up any business opportunities for those looking to join the cannabis industry. The state legislature isn't budging on expanding Texas's restrictive medical marijuana program or allowing recreational sales. Plus, with over 8,000 registered hemp sellers already, lawmakers are likely to target hemp-derived THC products in 2025. So Texas entrepreneurs may be left waiting a bit longer for the green light. Ground Game Texas, the group behind these city-level wins, is thrilled. But until the state makes broader changes, these victories are about keeping people out of jail, not bringing dispensaries to a town near you. It's a step forward, but don't go filing for that dispensary application just yet. I'm Lisa Williams, founder of the Toke Agency, bringing you the Texas Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
The other state with some positive news about reform is Nebraska. Voters there approved 2 medical ballot questions, one to legalize medicinal cannabis, and the other should move the state towards a regulated medical marketplace. The first question passed with 71% of the vote, and the second passed with 67% of the voters' approval. But before Nebraskans celebrate, there is the possibility that the state Supreme Court could nullify the election results based on a legal challenge to how those signatures were collected and approved. An attorney named Daniel Gutman represents the group behind the ballot initiatives. He said, "It would be a travesty of democracy to halt an election based on the testimony of just 2 campaign workers." Well, that'll do it for the A block or the first section of Cannabis Coast to Coast, but we will have plenty more state reports in the rest of the show that you can watch right now if you download our app or go to procannabismedia.com. Coming up next, our Virginia correspondent Joe Parsons and his unique spin on a disappointed election day. Plus, the DEA is hit with a federal lawsuit over their hearing procedures for the now postponed testimony on rescheduling cannabis by a research company out of Washington state. Cannabis Coast to Coast News continues after this.
Ready to take your craft to the next level? Imagine faster extractions, purer products, and more profits. Sounds good, right? At Pure 5 Extraction, we've revolutionized cannabis extraction with our game-changing technology. No solvents, no heat. Just the cleanest, most natural process on the market. Whether you're a boutique grower or a large-scale operation, Pure 5 has the tools to elevate your business worldwide. Visit pure5extraction.com today. Pure 5 Extraction, because your plants deserve the best.
I think I messed up. Did you know there's a place that covers all the cannabis news you need? Welcome to Pro Cannabis Media, your go-to for all things cannabis. PCM is the CNBC of weed, bringing you the latest news and talk shows with a twist. We've got 16 state correspondents and multimedia journalists from around the US and Canada.
Hey everybody, it's Brandon Jones with Be Green Distribution with the Missouri Cannabis Report.
I'm Karen Black from Greenfinger Consulting with the Arizona Cannabis Report.
I'm Amy Carter from Michigan Weedsters.
Andrew Behringer here reporting from Washington, D.C.
Debbie Fazy with the Canadian Toke of the Week.
It all started back in 2018 when founder Jimmy Young kicked off the In the Weeds podcast. His mission? Documenting the fight to end cannabis prohibition. Fast forward to today and we've got Cannabis Coast to Coast with Alaina Pinto, delivering the nation's only TV-style cannabis news show.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Cannabis Coast to Coast News, Pro Cannabis Media's weekly roundup of the news from the industry. I'm Alaina Pinto.
As of August 2024, PCM has racked up over 1.2 million views and 14.5 million impressions on our YouTube channel. With 15,000 subscribers and growing, our reach is spreading like wildfire. PCM's website, YouTube, Rumble, Discord, Roku, Twitch, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and even our very own PCMTV app. Get your cannabis news fix with Pro Cannabis Media. We're here to keep you informed and entertained. Stay tuned and stay lifted.